Hi, welcome everybody to this week's OpenJ9 community call. I've pasted a link to the agenda into the group chat, so it should be available there. And as we do every week, we'll kick it off by throwing this open to any questions anybody might have from the community. If there's anybody who's got a question or an end user use case in particular they'd like to discuss, this would be a great section of our agenda to do that. We've kind of slipped a little bit in our usual lightning talks for this section. So if you do have something around OpenJ9 you'd like to talk about, we'd love to get something scheduled for future calls like this, to be able to get some more of these 5-minute lightning talks to intro something around OpenJ9 or OpenJ9, the usage it's being used with in your community, or how you're interested in trying OpenJ9 out. So very open to having people generate new content here if they're interested. So.
Dan, I don't know if you spotted it, but there's an interesting set of questions on the mailing list from someone around use future pages.
Yes, it's been on my list to respond if somebody else doesn't get to it before I do. We'll probably follow that one up through the mailing list, because I'll need to dig into exactly how our large page support works. I haven't touched that area in quite a while, unless somebody else on the call is well aware of that and wants to provide an overview now. Are there any general community discussions, or should we jump into the rest of the agenda?
Yeah, I may have a quick question before you get into the details. I'm working on integrating OpenJ9 in Eclipse IDE as an updatable, installable unit, and so on. And I've been facing some issues with, I believe, OpenJ9. So I've got some behaviors that I would like to discuss with you. And I'm not sure what's the best channel for this kind of discussion. I see you're using Slack. Is this where I can expect the best support for an integrator like me? Or?
Yeah, so Slack, you'll typically get very quick responses. We also have a mailing list if there's something that's sort of a more detailed or longer term discussion you want to be having. And then for any bugs or any issues that you're encountering, we also have GitHub issues. And so any one of those channels is a fine place to start. Slack is often an easier one to begin with for people.
Okay, thank you. So I probably join you on Slack in a few days and ask my questions until they are qualified as bug, and I make GitHub issues.
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you. That's all I wanted to know for today. So I probably leave you in the very deep details of OpenJ9.
All right.
Thanks a lot. See you later on Slack.
All right. Jumping into the general business then. Irina, do you want to take us through this?
Sure. So for the milestone, we are almost done. We fixed all the must fixed items. We created the release candidate one. So we expect to be done anytime soon now. For the queries, I kept saying I'll do a different format. This is the kind of data I'll have. The next thing to do is to actually create some tables. So I have a comparison here. I have June 30, and I have the data from June 30 and the comparison with June 13. We increased again on the issues. We have 319 versus 307. I have the details per component. You can see a bit of an increase in component, and you can see some things that are missing. And a similar increase in PR. So if you look at the trends, they keep increasing as before. And if you look at the closed work, there is work being done. If you look at the PRs, you can see a 50 PR difference from well, 46 PR difference from in a week, right? 46 closed. That's what I have. Any questions?
So in previous weeks, we had talked about having committers and contributors go through the issue list and the PRs and just look at some of the ones that appear to be particularly stale. Given the very slight changes in numbers, I'm assuming we haven't gotten that done yet. I know I haven't had a chance to, due to being traveling last week. But I guess this is just a general reminder to everybody to please take a pass through the issues. If there's things that are stale, if there's things that are no longer relevant, let's get them closed out. It makes the issue list a little more approachable when there's, sub 100 versus the current 320 or 319.
Yeah, sorry. And then another thing I had to do, and I haven't done, I'm supposed to do a query for to quickly identify beginner PR. So that's a quick to do. I'll get to.
All right. Thanks, Irina, for reformatting this and pulling all the data together. Does anybody have any other questions around this? All right. And I also want to say a big thank you to everybody who put the work into closing out those last few issues for the 0.9 release so that we could get the RC1 created. It's been a lot of work and it's definitely appreciated. In terms of machines then, I'm not sure we have much of an update here on machines at this time. I don't see Charlie on, so I'm not sure what the current status is for the build farm we were looking to create at the University of New Brunswick. So I'll need to continue to connect with him to get an update on that. Is there any updates in terms of machines from anyone else? In terms of builds, have we been seeing any particular platforms that are bottlenecking for us, either in PR builds or in nightlies? Okay. I'll take that lack of response as our build farm seems to be in a reasonably healthy state, and move on to...
I'll correct you then. I'll say that everything seems equally, you have a wait time that's equal across all platforms in general.
Okay.
It's a busy farm. There's a lot of queuing up and waiting. So obviously we shouldn't stop trying to get more machines for it.
Okay, I agree. We definitely need to be seeking more machines.
I think in particular for Xlinux, because we have the large heap builds and maybe something else, we're doing double load there. So they tend to be the laggards.
Are we also doing the 32-bit Windows builds in OpenJ9, or are those just happening at Adopt?
They're turned on for OpenJ9 now.
Okay. So there's two platforms where we double up. Although I guess right now it's just in JDK 8, or is it also JDK 10?
It's just 8. I think that's why we don't see Windows is taking a long time, but we see Xlinux taking longer.
Right. Okay.
So I will record in the minutes that we need to be looking for to be growing our X machines. Are there any other comments on the machines at the moment? Okay. Then we will move into the builds and the platforms. So the JRE packages. Shelley, do you have an update on this?
I know they're being built. I don't think they're being called out separately or pushed to the website at the moment. Sophia's got a plan in place for testing them, but she's just closing off the turning on JCOV code coverage stuff, so she hasn't actually completed the addition of the testing for the JREs. So there is some progress, but I should find does this have a link to an adopt issue in it already?
Yeah, the first one.
I'll go there and maybe update that issue and make sure that things are still going to move forward. I don't know that anyone's owned putting those yet on the website, so it might end up in my list. I'll go see what's happening.
All right, thank you. For the large heap packages, as we said earlier, we're building them at OpenJ9. Shelley, I see that the last item was that you have a PR.
Yeah, it was merged last night. So if you go to the webpage, you will see x64 Linux large heap builds properly labeled and being pushed through the pipeline. So it's being built, tested, and deployed to the adopt website for OpenJDK 8, OpenJ9 builds. And same goes for Win32. So both of those are now closed items.
Oh, that's great news.
Yeah.
For all the work on that, Shelley.
Yeah. Learned all about the guts of the system. So the next round should be easier, which is why I probably own the JRE stuff.
All right. Are there any other questions around the large heap packages or the Win32 binaries?
Yeah, I guess so. The point with the large heap is you also want JDK 10 plus. We turned it on for JDK 8.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say we definitely want 8 and then 10 plus as well.
Okay. So Teresa had asked me that this morning. So we'll keep that adopt issue open until we get the 10s turned on, and then I'll close it. And when 11 comes in, it'll be part of that set.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good. So just an update on the Mac OS binaries. I've worked through the last couple of issues that I had been hitting previous to building the JIT. And so I've got that in a reasonable state. It needs a little bit of cleanup so I don't break the existing x86 builds. The developer who's been working on the JIT side has a set of patches he needs to push as well. But I think we're well on our way to getting something at least building on Mac. This being sort of the number one thing I'm getting asked for these days, especially around conferences and through various channels. So I think we really need to push on getting this built and ready to go, at least for our next release. It's unfortunate that we don't have it for this coming one, but I think that it's a must-have for the next release. So that's going to drive requirements around machines for our project as well. So we should start looking at that now. Any questions around Mac? All right. ZOS build, is there any update here?
Well, only that internally
so not at Eclipse OpenJ9. We are still working on getting a build going that's usable based on the OpenJDK build system. So work continues.
The other platforms that I've been hearing a lot from people about is actually ARM32 and 64. I know James Kingdom has done a lot of work around getting the ARM32 build cross-compiling and ready. I think there'd be a lot of benefit to the community to be able to get that finished off and in our build systems. So I think we should try and be looking at what would it take to get ARM into our builds regularly and continue to push on the ARM64 port. I realize this will take a lot of test and infrastructure and related support.
Actually, we've put placeholder builds already at adopt for these for OpenJ9. So some of that work's already done.
Oh, excellent. That's great to hear.
Yeah.
All right. Is there any other platforms or build issues that we should be discussing? Okay. Then moving on to the end user experience. I know that there's been a couple of recent articles and blogs on both the OpenJ9 blog and a recent article on dzone. So I think we're continuing to see content created about OpenJ9, which is great. Sue, have you been able to link the blog from the website?
We've just got access back to. You can hear me okay? Sorry, I thought it was still on mute there. Yeah, we had a problem with the infrastructure, which is solved now, so we are able to make website changes. There's a number of things queued up, and that is one of them. So we'll get to that as soon as we can.
All right.
The dzone article you mentioned, I don't think I'm familiar with that one. I'll have a hunt for it because we should add that to our resources page as well.
Okay, that's perfect. Yeah, a quick Google for dzone and OpenJ9. If you can't find the link, let me know and I'll dig it up for you.
Yeah, I'll do. Thanks.
All right. Are there any user-raised issues we should be discussing now? Any particular issues people are looking at there that are user-raised that they think need more attention and aren't getting them? All right, if there is anything along those lines, please either stick an update in the item or call it out on Slack, and we'll see if we can get it the attention it requires. The WordPress blog, as we've already mentioned, is up and running. I see somebody is updating the minute as I'm reading them. So.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, the traffic spikes that we see when you tweet about blog posts is great. So thanks for tweeting about some of the posts there, because it's definitely made a difference to readership on certain posts.
Yeah, and the amplification from Mike Milinkovic, for example, with his large following count, certainly helps as well. All right. I'm not aware of any update to the wiki discussion. Sue, did I see some updates to the Wikipedia entry?
I put some suggestions in the issue, see what people thought. I don't think there's been any responses yet. Maybe if you can take a look, if you think there's any areas we should be covering that haven't already listed, or ones I've put there that you don't think are appropriate, I'll then make a start on it.
Okay. I will try and take a look at that today, immediately following this this meeting. All right. The 0.9 release. As mentioned above, we've created the RC1 candidate. Are there any other comments or discussions around the 0.9 release?
There's a test exclude that we need, I think. So I've made a comment in the pull request in the main line to see if we can get that a PR opened in the release branch.
Okay. Sounds good. Any other discussion around the 0.9 release?
So I can report that the builds containing that release have the build for all the platforms that adopt OpenJDK, and testing and JCK testing is underway. I've looked at a few of the results. There are one or two failures that we need to look into, but hoping they're test setup issues at this point that we need to resolve.
Okay. Yeah, and a big thank you to everybody involved in running JCKs and some of those harder to run test suites at Adopt. We appreciate all of the help there and are always looking for volunteers to help, particularly with the manual testing. So, if you're interested, please get involved with the Adopt community to help drive that forward. All right. Is there any other business people would like to discuss on this call? All right then.
Actually, sorry, I was on mute. One quick one, just a process thing. We've had a few user-raised issues and problems come in. There was a question from the GC team about should we document if they want or can share a core file, what's the right mechanism or right thing for us to advise them to do? Now, they could attach it to an issue, although I think for certain suffixes, you have to rename them. Do we have a process or a kind of guidance on that?
Mm-hmm. There's no official
we want
guidance.
to set a Dropbox or something? Yeah.
I think people have been using whatever they have access to that they're able to upload cores and share the links to. People tend to be somewhat careful about sharing core files because there's often a lot of information in there that they may not want publicly shared. So my advice there would be to provide access to cores with through limited channels and try to have limited access to those.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if we should set up a location for that, or what, if we should offer some guidance around that. But anyway, it's worth thinking about. That way we'd have a repeatable, shareable process for people who needed to do that and document it. Anyway, it was a question that came up earlier today, so I thought I'd bring it here.
It is a good question. We've had a couple of cases where people have been able just to use Dropbox or Box or Google Docs or whatever their particular sharing environment is for this. But usually the links to those have been shared privately, with particular people working on the issue, just to try to limit access to the data.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see us having a shared folder somewhere, and then in it subfolders where there's limited access, named by the issue number or something. But yeah.
And then we'll have to figure out exactly, probably have to have a conversation with the Eclipse Foundation about the right way to handle this.
Yeah, in terms of getting rid of the data once an issue is closed and all of that. So yeah, I can send a note out to ask for guidance.
Okay. I appreciate that. Thank you, Shelley. All right, is there any other issues that we need to discuss? All right, then thank you everybody for attending the call this week. Please be thinking about any lightning talks you might like to either hear or give for future weeks, and enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll talk again on this call in another week.
Thanks, bye.
Thanks.